My name is Molly Casey, and this is my CEP lobby space. So for the mission of this project was to redesign the lobby and inspiration wall of the corporate CEP space. The vision for the inspiration wall is to provide a design that represents the company and what CEP does. While walking into the lobby from the front door, I want visitors to feel confident and realize that they made the right choice in choosing CEP for their project. I want the wall to indicate that designers at CEP know what they're doing and make many successful projects. The main thing that the wall should get across is that CEP follows you and your project no matter where it goes. So my theme is we go where you go. For my design style, I chose contemporary, which incorporates a lot of neutral colors. It has a lot like a mixture of forms, so not quite organic and not quite geometric, kind of mixture of both. There's a lot of natural light and lighting in general, and a lot of natural colored fabrics and stuff. These are my personas, one being an employee at CEP and the other being the client. The client came here to seek help and knowledge that she needs to know to be successful at a trade show. And Nick here is the first person that she talks to and meets at CEP. So these are my renders. This first one is directly across from the inspiration wall, and the second is right behind the waiting area space. This is the inspiration wall. The materials I used were obviously the red and gray from the CEP colors. I used a backlighting around the CEP logo, and then this wooden texture that I used for the main part, along with the pictures are on blocks that are at different heights, so it kind of each one kind of pops out and overlaps over another, and they're kind of making a 3D effect. This is the view from behind the reception counter, and then the overall view. So for the approach, when visitors first become aware of CEP building, they will first have to hear about CEP or be referred by someone to either make an appointment or meet with someone there that may be helpful to their overall project. When they first arrive, they will come into the entryway and then into the lobby space. Overall, the environment will be mostly quiet, other than maybe slight chatter from down the hallway or from the receptionist. The visitor will walk up to the receptionist desk, and the employee there will tell them where they need to go and whether they need to go to a specific office or wait in the waiting area, depending on what they're there for. So waiting itself in the waiting area will be no longer than 10 minutes or so. The waiting area is directly across from the reception desk. In the waiting area, there will be magazines to pass the time and complimentary water for people waiting. From the waiting room, the visitor will be guided through the hallways to their destination eventually by an employee or person that they're working with. Arrival to the destination, depending on what the visitor is there for, they may arrive in someone's office or maybe a meeting room. The target activity, depending on the client, they will engage in the meeting or speak with the employee that they needed to in their office, and things will get done. Some side trips that include the bathroom, which may be far from the room they're in, so navigating the halls can be an experience in itself. Some secondary activities may include a trip to the break room, maybe a trip outside, or maybe even an employee tour of the building to the client if they're curious. To moving towards the exit, the visit winds down to an end when the employee says their goodbye and walks them back to the lobby and inspiration area for their final departure. And the final goodbye is when the visitor opens the door to the entryway and leaves. So for basics of space, for spatial definition, some elements in the space that define space in the lobby are the rugs and the different floor textures in the lobby and entryway. The rugs define the reception and waiting areas, knowing that they are popular destinations from the initial entry when you first walk in. A big part of the lobby space that brings a lot of texture in is the wooden pattern on the inspiration wall. as well as the wooden overhang above the reception counter, and it gives the space kind of some texture and depth that I added. The lobby and reception area is an open floor plan that connects to all the hallways in the building, so there are no doors to hallways, and the lobby space is very open. For size and form, in the lobby there are 2 levels to the ceiling, one being about 15 feet tall and the higher one to be maybe about 25 feet tall. The ceiling makes a space more of a generous scale of things, making it feel very open and large to the user when they first walk in, while going through the hallways is kind of a lower ceiling, so it might feel a little more small. So for the occasion, the users of the space will come into the lobby probably because they have a meeting with someone in a particular, or a group of people, maybe a meeting. The insiders are the employees of CEP, or the people who work there, and the visitors are the clients and other people who come in to work with the employees or to get their knowledge or talk with them. The resources that would be included in the lobby space itself would be the lobby space itself and the waiting area and the reception area that kind of make up the lobby itself. The surroundings to the user of the space will include the reception employee, which is the first person the user will come in contact with, and it will include all the peripheral offices that are down the hall and people throughout the office. The visitor might not see it first, but they're all part of the surrounding environment itself. So the components of space for function, the main function of the lobby space will be to introduce visitors to the building and the space around it. Visitors will walk through the entryway and know that they're in the right place, and there will be a receptionist there if they had any questions. That's the point of the CEP inspiration wall, basically. The landmark of the building would be the inspiration wall. Everyone who walks through the entryway, employee and client otherwise, will see it, and if people ever need to meet at a central location, the inspiration wall will be a perfect place because everyone knows where it is. The space in place, the CEP facility itself will be considered a place made of subspaces like the lobby and offices and meeting rooms and wherever else people go in this building. For the traffic flow map, I made 2 maps, one being just where people would walk to, and the other included like the nodes, that's what the green squares are. So for the initial impression, the main part of the initial impression will be the inspiration wall. All users who come through the front door, this will be the first thing they see, so directly in front of the door. For paths and nodes, some of the nodes include the waiting area, the reception, the offices, and the meeting rooms. The paths are all connected with the building and the hallways that connect throughout the building. For my development process, I started this process by thinking what the space would be used for, what kind of surroundings are around the building, and all the requirements and factors and impact of the space. Eventually I made a concept and a vision, then developed a scheme for the project. The next thing I did was sketch out a basic idea of what I was going to change and what I was going to include. In addition to the floor plan, I had thought of the ceilings and materials I was going to use in the elevation of it all. Eventually I started designing the space and it went from there. So that's where I started from. And that's the end. Thank you for listening.